A front line of race in America, not black and white, but black and brown. In Los Angeles, violence in the streets between African American and Latino gangs. Across the country, workers pitted against each other, fighting for jobs. From the streets of Los Angeles, I'm Avi Lewis. This week, we look at America's black-brown divide. Just the presence of Barack Obama, the first African-American presidential frontrunner in U.S. history, would have ensured that race was an issue in this election campaign. Then there's the simmering immigration debate, racially charged comments from a cast of characters connected to various campaigns, and the way that TV covers the primaries, with pundits putting every result under the racial microscope. How many white men for McCain, Latinos for Clinton, African Americans for Obama? But beyond the election circus, there are real racial tensions on the boil in this country. Latinos have recently surpassed African Americans as the largest non-white minority, and there's a lot of talk about the black-brown divide. We're going to look at various aspects of that divide on this week's show, from jobs to politics. But we start with the most dramatic. Here's Mike Kirsch with a story of gang warfare on the streets of LA.
We ride with Los Angeles Police Sergeant Dan Horan in volatile South Los Angeles, where black and Hispanic gang members have been shooting innocent people over the color of their skin. What police here call black on brown or brown on black race crimes. The murder rate here is up nearly 35% from the same time period last year.
Is this the only place you're shot that you know of? Yeah? Okay. How old are you, bud? 14? All right.
The latest shooting victim is young Oscar Rodriguez.
Check with my mom. We'll slide this on everyone.
What happened?
I ain't gonna say no shit.
What'd you see?
They're just trying to blast it off. I had to go into a car.
Oscar's brother says they were in front of their home when the shooting started. Did you see the shooters?
Yeah.
What'd they look like?
They were black.
They were black?
Yeah.
Why did they shoot?
I don't know, a little gang of violence, but you know what? If I find them, ain't me being racist or nothing like that, but I'm gonna get them back.
Once an all-black community, South Los Angeles is now 80% Hispanic. Some residents here say a race war is underway.
Pueda que sí.
That could be. For the last couple of weeks, it's been tense. It's been really dangerous.
This hasn't just started. It's been going on and on and on. It's like just no end to everything.
Lord, send me a Hispanic. Send me a black man, a white man. I don't care what color you are.
Some community leaders, like Pastor Chris LEGRANDE, are concerned more people will be killed because of their color.
We definitely have a race war going on in the city of Los Angeles. It's getting so violent now that somebody has to do something.
Los Angeles Mayor Antonio VILLARAIGOSA has been careful addressing the situation publicly.
Is there conflict among the races? Of course. Is it increasing? Maybe.
His police chief, William Bratton, declined to interview on the subject, directing us instead to his assistant police chief, EARL PAYSINGER, who was born and raised in South Los Angeles.
Do we have situations where blacks assault Hispanics and likewise Hispanics assault blacks? Yeah, those occur.
There's a perception on the street when you talk to people that there's a race war going on.
The statistics absolutely do not bear out the fact that there's a race war of any sort in this city.
Of the gang-related murders here so far this year, police statistics in fact indicate most are intraracial. Blacks killing other blacks, Hispanic gang members murdering their Hispanic rivals. Usually over the control of gang turf and the sales of drugs like crack cocaine. Still, the dozens of racially motivated shootings here have created an unmistakable atmosphere of fear in this community.
What's so sad is they're afraid. I think one of the major problems in America now is we are afraid to get involved.
So grave is the situation, federal authorities recently toured the embattled community, pledging more funding to help police here. Those street cops like Sergeant Dan Horan, who know the situation on the ground better than most, are at a loss for words on what it will take to fix the problem.
What's the solution?
I don't know. The police can only do so much. The police can't fix cultural problems. The police can't provide fathers to kids that don't have fathers. They can't provide discipline to kids who have no discipline.
Blacks and Hispanics here often call the police racists, making tensions even worse.
Anytime, even today, that we talk about race, we tend to whisper. And that tells me, that suggests to me that we're not really even ready, prepared at a psychological level to discuss the harsh realities.
There's nothing to discuss for shooting victim Oscar Rodriguez. It's been 2 weeks since he was shot in the leg, the bullet shattering his shin bone. His family is packing up and moving away from the violence, out of state to Colorado. His parents, with no jobs lined up, feeling anywhere is safer than here.
I don't know. It's a question of luck.
The gunman who shot their son remains at large.
What would you say to the guy that shot you? What would you want to do? Have you thought about that at all?
Just tell him why he shot me, for what? What will I do to him? What's the reason he shot at me?
To veteran police officer Dan Horan, with 26 years on the front line in Los Angeles, the racial violence here is the result of a classic demographic shift running its course.
People come, people go.
And people die. Memorials for the victims of gang violence are part of the landscape, a reminder of dangerous times and the racial divide.
In the midst of this urban violence, Los Angeles has been gripped by a debate about what's called the black-brown divide, the tension between African Americans and Latinos that finds its most violent expression in gang warfare. Now, police here say it's more media sensationalism than a genuine racial crisis. But there's no question that blacks and Latinos in America have been historically pitted against each other, fighting over jobs, neighborhoods, and political power. To learn more about the black-brown divide, we came to the neighborhood of Watts to talk to two people who have not only been looking at the divide for years, they've been living it. Earl OFARI Hutchinson is an author and activist who lives in Los Angeles. His latest book is called The Ethnic Presidency: How Race Decides the Race to the White House. And Alberto Retana is the director of organizing for the Community Coalition, a grassroots group working with African American and Latino residents of South LA. Let's start with what's happening here in Los Angeles, where there's been a renewed talk of gang violence and the black-brown divide. Earl, set the stage for what's the debate that's happening in the city right now.
When you talk about most murders and violence, we know it's black on black or brown on brown. However, if you're attacked because of your color and it's racially motivated, even if it's one, and even if it appears isolated and it's not the pattern, it still sends off a special trauma among, say, blacks or Latinos within the group itself.
That's right, and you can't dig deeper into what's really happening in the community. What is some of the real anti-black sentiment in the Latino community? What is some of the anti-Latino sentiment? What are the roots of that?
I want to talk about how this plays out on the neighborhood level. I read an incendiary quote in a piece that you wrote where an African-American, well, not you, it wasn't your quote actually, but you quoted someone, an African-American community member, saying there's ethnic cleansing taking place, that Latino gangs are driving us out of our neighborhood.
That is being said, and we hear it more and more.
So why do people say stuff like that?
Because they believe it. Because they believe it. And I have to tell you, it's caught on. I hear it all the time. Even if it's a small percentage, a small number, and it is a small number, where you have blacks being killed by Latinos, or the other way around. When violence happens, and if it's Latino on black, we're the Latino leaders.
Right.
Why don't they step up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's a lack of a coordinated response in the Latino community and amongst Latino activists to stand in solidarity with African Americans and other communities that are suffering in similar or different ways as the Latino community. One of the conversations we need to have in LA, at least among Latino leaders, as you talked about, is the South LA Latino population is an invisible one, to say the least. And so you don't have institutions, some of the key institutions, working with the Latino community in South Los Angeles and working with the community Latinos in South Los Angeles with the vantage point that we need to build bridges and coalitions with African Americans. And pretty soon, if we don't get in front of that, you're going to have a different kind of institution coming in, organizing Latinos, which is going to be towards reaping the benefits of becoming the new majority, so to speak.
I want to talk about how communities are pitted against each other. Who benefits?
Well, this is not rocket scientist stuff. The people that are pitted against each other don't benefit, but employers, policymakers who can duck and dodge, get off the hook, business leaders who don't have to expand jobs, create more opportunities, and also corporations, essentially, that are leaving and creating these problems. The heat is off of them. The pressure's off of them. It's just this black guy over here or this Latino's just taking the job. Go blame them.
If you were to look at East Los Angeles, which is a part of Los Angeles, which is 99% Latino, you have a very similar dynamic taking place where second, third generation Latinos, or what some folks call Chicanos, are struggling to compete for jobs and are also blaming immigrants for their lack of, for their jobs being taken away.
Subtext underneath.
Absolutely, and so it's interesting because even in this context of a black-brown divide, there's some black-brown unity around immigrants and whether or not they're taking their jobs.
Let's talk about the campaign. Obviously, race has come into the election campaign. Barack Obama made a now legendary speech about race recently. Does his campaign represent a place where the black-brown divide can be healed?
When you look at the numbers, the overwhelming majority of Latino voters did not support him, supported Hillary Clinton for a variety of reasons. You don't want to overgeneralize, but at least some Latinos are saying, I don't care who he is. I'm not going to vote, or she is. I'm not going to vote for an African American simply because they're an African American.
Well, here's an expression of what you're talking about. This is a quote from a Latino superdelegate in the Democratic Party after Barack Obama's big speech on race. And he said, I listened to Barack's speech, and I'm going to ask the candidate, where is our place at the table as Latinos? Because we're tired of just cooking, cleaning up, and getting blamed when the party goes bad. What do you make of that sentiment?
I think that the first thing that we always have to do, at least in the Latino community when that's raised, is to acknowledge the anti-black sentiment that does exist in the community, that first and foremost, because it's real. Why aren't you voting for Obama? What's the issue? Are you not ready for a black president? We believe that African Americans and Latinos are the most marginalized and disenfranchised community in the United States, and our job is to use our movement, build movements of these folks coming together to fight for change. And that historically, if you look at the United States and every major sweeping social change, folks have come together from the bottom to really fight for that significant improvement in their lives.
The leadership, not the leadership the other way around.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
Guys, thank you for having this dialogue with me today. Coming up, we look at how America's black-brown divide is affecting the rebuilding of New Orleans and our weekly coverage of the campaign.